Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Morning After Recap Show brought to you by IrishSportsDaily.com. I am Greg Flammang. How is everyone doing this morning? It's a nice morning. Notre Dame 51, Navy 14. Not a stressful game at all. Very fun game to watch. I think Notre Dame was, there are obviously some stressful moments where it's like, oh, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then the game could get close. But those things never did happen. Notre Dame was in control from the start. Right after Blake Horvath, or they fumbled the pitch on Navy's opening drive. Notre Dame obviously went down and scored on their opening drive to control the game. And then once Notre Dame went up 14-0, they were in control basically throughout. ND Ferb says, "Why do we still do this as far as the Notre Dame Navy series?" I mean, it's obviously why, right? Like, I think it's a tradition thing, right? And Notre Dame's going to hold on to tradition. They're definitely going to hold on to this tradition for as long as they can. It kind of shows like the lack of utility. Like, look, you beat a ranked team, the number 24 team, undefeated. You beat them by 37 points, and it's like, well, like people are telling me they're terrible, and obviously it's going to be discounted, right? It's not like beating another number 24 team by this much. They're obviously not going to get the credit that you normally would, and that's why people say, like, why do this? Why play the game if you're not going to get credit for it? And it's discounted, even maybe even in our own minds. So that's kind of where it is. So that's that Jamie and I talked about it. Um, you know on Thursday we talked about that, right? Jamie's in favor of the series going away. So at least on an annual basis, right? Maybe like every 3 years you play or whatever it might be, but that's where that's at. But we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about things I saw from Leonard. I think it's important to keep in mind. I was watching the game back, and I didn't really realize it yesterday. I watched the game this morning. So Riley Leonard, 13 to 21, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jeremiyah Love, 12 carries, 102. Riley Leonard, 10 carries, 83. And it's important to context to keep in mind that that's all in one half and one drive in the second half in the third quarter. Notre Dame just had the one with their starters in. They literally had the one drive where Riley Leonard hit the long pass to Bo Collins for the touchdown, put Notre Dame up 38-14. On Navy's next possession is when they fumbled in the end zone. Jalen Sneed recovered it for a touchdown. And then after that, the Notre Dame starters never saw the field again. So that's pretty much where it was for them. So the numbers are, again, I think Notre Dame's really missed out on some like Pat statting opportunities for their main players against Purdue, for one. They obviously missed it in this game, and Stanford as well. Just not a lot of. They're not playing a ton of football in the second half. A lot of these blowouts, and it's costing them. It's costing them. Yards and stats and things of that nature. So that's why some of their stats aren't as good as they could be, especially running the ball, because they're a much better running team. But we'll get into all that. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in this morning. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we're going to go live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, this show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing. Holiday season is right around the corner, and ESQ has you covered for all your parties and gifting. Obviously, we know that it's founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. ESQ's, worn by all the players and the player walks and the coaches and things of that nature. He's been doing this for over a decade, making the best custom clothing available. ESQ will help you look and feel your best, from a perfect fitting suit or sport coat, shirt, or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for galas and holiday events. Check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com and book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your purchase. Give yourself and your loved ones the gift of style. All right, let's see some of the chat comments. CFB Hertz says, we got to get our ranked wins somewhere. You can fill your entire schedule with cupcakes like FSU and USC. Yeah, I mean, you do have to, but Notre Dame didn't count on Navy and Army being ranked for sure. Obviously they got unlucky with, look, obviously Notre Dame would much rather Army and Navy were the bad teams and FSU and USC were the good teams in terms of, cachet on the schedule, right? Didn't work out for them this year. Army looks to be undefeated. I think Navy will probably be undefeated. I mean, look, they present a lot of problems. Jamie and I talked about it yesterday on the post game. It's very difficult to guard them. It's very difficult to stop them. They did have some success, right? 5.4 yards per play, 222 rush yards for them. They couldn't get it going through the air. But there's a lot of, they're turning the ball over and things of that nature. They're losing possessions. So they were hurt on some yard stuff there as well. So it didn't work out for Notre Dame as far as the schedule. But look, it is what it is, and you got to win the games that are in front of you. And Notre Dame has a chance to do that. Jason Z says November is looking to be an especially compelling month in college football this year. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts and moving pieces to this season. With a lot of teams like Pitt is undefeated, Indiana's undefeated, right? And then you still have those top three teams. Oregon is undefeated. Penn State is undefeated. So there's a lot to take in. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really fun. Rajon says, "Didn't football pants have to cover the knees in days of yore?" Yeah, they did. They did. It's pretty comical now. Very funny, but it is what it is. Everyone's doing it, so it doesn't matter. Jason Z says FSU has had a lot more fight the last few weeks. I think the quarterback change has helped them a little bit. I mean, offensively, they're not like they didn't, they held points down against Miami yesterday, but offensively, I didn't think they did much. I mean, one of their best plays was a quarterback sneak where Miami just completely lost where the quarterback was, and he comes out of the pile. I mean, offensively, Florida State's a mess. And they're coming into Notre Dame Stadium in November. They're a 1-win team. It's going to be tough for them, right? Notre Dame presents a lot of problems, and Notre Dame's off the bye. And not just that, but I think something that we should talk about is Marcus Freeman, the way he's framing this and the way he's framing this kind of the rest of this season. He's talking about, I'm happy with this. We got to get better. I want more than this. Like, he keeps pressing that button. Like, look, this is fine and all good and, fine and dandy and everything. I want more, and we should expect more. And that's exactly what you want to hear from Marcus Freeman. I think he's framing this in the exact right way for the Notre Dame football team to keep them engaged. Really, I mean, what it ultimately means, I don't know. That sort of mindset speaks to me, though, and I really appreciate the way that he's talking about it. So that's good stuff from Marcus Freeman. So we'll see coming out of the bye. Let's see. Rajon says A&M's quarterback change last night certainly helped them. Yes. Frequent listener Ryan Gavin, he kind of hit me up on DM yesterday and was talking about that. And it's like, look, sure, like he creates problems on the running game. No question about it. I just don't. It's hard for me to see a quarterback coming in and running like the type of offense that Texas A&M has and giving them a ton of problems consistently. Like if they mixed him up with Wegman, that would obviously give Notre Dame problems, or it gives a lot of people problems, like challenges, I should say. But I think at the same time, like I think people look at Texas A&M and teams like that, where they say, well, if they had X guy in the next game, it'd have gone different. It's like, yeah, for sure. But Notre Dame's a different football team now as well, especially offensively in the way that Riley Leonard's playing. So that lots of things change, right? So you got to take all that into account. Sergio says, does IU and Texas A&M both jump Notre Dame? National analysts continue to doubt Notre Dame. I don't think I don't think IU does. Because here's the thing, right? Like a better question to me is, should Notre Dame jump BYU? Like BYU beats 3-4 USF or UCF by 13 points. They're 3-4. Like Notre Dame beat an undefeated Navy by 37 points. They're pulling starters in the fourth quarter. Like what is there any credibility? Now, to be clear, like it doesn't matter. The AP poll doesn't matter at all for anything. It's just something that they do for tradition's sake. Um, like I mean, how can you make the case? You win a game. The people pick them to lose. I made this point yesterday on the show. People pick Notre Dame to lose the game. You can't come back and be like, I thought Navy would win, but also they're actually not very good. Like you can't do that. You pick Navy to win the game. You got to bump them up. Like you got to bump Notre Dame. I'm sorry, you do. They're a top 10 team. They're showing it. They have a top 10 defense. Notre Dame's offense. They have a top 10 rushing offense in the nation right now. I don't know how you discount it. I just don't. By the metrics, I tweeted it out today. Notre Dame is top 10 in yards per carry. They're top 10 in rushing touchdowns. They're top 20 in 20-plus yard runs. They're top 10 in 30-plus yard runs. Like they are a top 10 rushing offense in college football just by the metrics. Their EPA numbers look good. Like they have a good EPA per play situation going on. For me, it's just like the people got to wake up. This is a good Notre Dame football team, and the passing game is coming along too. I encourage everyone. I tweeted out some. There are 5 clips from Riley Leonard as a thrower in this game. It doesn't even include like the long touchdown pass to Bo Collins, right? It doesn't include the long pass to Jaden Greathouse. It doesn't include the touchdown throw to Chris Mitchell, right? Where look at it. He's reading it out, right? And he's doing the right things. It's all a bunch of whole other plays. Jordan Faison was involved, which is another big key for Notre Dame. I just think people need to they need to kind of wake up to the fact that Notre Dame's a good football team and they're getting better offensively, and they've had a good defense throughout the year. Navy puts up 14 on them. They're averaging 45 points a game, and Navy puts up 14. You got to, and even if you want to point to turnovers, 5.4 yards per play. That's not great for Navy, right? At 5.4 yards per play, they've been shredding teams, so they didn't do that yesterday. So, Greg Wasserman says Notre Dame needs to just needs to win out. Even if they were undefeated, they would have to play an extra game. That's 100% correct. Let's see. CFB Hurt says I think Indiana will jump Notre Dame. I would say A&M has about a 33% chance. Honestly, it would be very disappointing if Indiana did. It'd be very disappointing. To me, but whatever. It is what it is. It doesn't really matter. CFB Hertz says, I'm curious how the Navy side feels about the series. Do they want it to continue annually? I don't know why they wouldn't. It's a free roll for them. It doesn't hurt them in conference, and it only boosts them just nationally if they win. It's literally there's no downside other than playing a tough team and losing. It never costs them anything. It's to me it's an absolute free roll, and I think they should absolutely want to do it. Josh Miller says good morning. Good morning, Josh. Thank you for Josh Miller says BK having a good morning. Yeah, man, BK, look at he is what he is. He is what he's been at LSU. It's interesting when you think about like the whole 2021, the end of 21. BK goes to LSU. Lincoln Riley goes to USC. Brent Venables then goes to Oklahoma. I think if you look at all those teams right now, who's trending the best? What coach is trending the best? It's Marcus Freeman, the youngest one, probably the one with the most questions. I think Brent Venables had the second most questions just because of he hadn't been a head coach, but he'd been in the business longer. He'd definitely been in college football a lot longer. He'd been a top assistant for a lot longer. But Marcus Freeman, he's sitting there at 7-1. It's going to be a top 10 team. USC's unranked. They're 4-4. LSU, they're not going to be unranked. They were ranked 8. They're going to drop out of the top 10. Notre Dame's got a top 10 caliber team. All of BK's players are mostly gone. You got to give it to Marcus Freeman on that. I mean, he's definitely trending better than the rest of them, and I don't think people would have thought that. Rajon says, it seems each game there are complaints about one or two guys not getting touches. Are we just overreacting to that? Overreacting. Yeah, Jamie and I talked about it yesterday. Like, there's just not a ton of snaps. 51 snaps for Notre Dame starters yesterday. That's just not a lot, right? You're talking one half and one drive where the starters are in the game. You could make the case that, like, you don't want Jeremiyah Love in the game at 44-14. You just don't, right? Like, you don't want Riley Leonard in the game at that point. You could make the case like, hey, instead of Kedron Young getting 10 carries, maybe you give some of those to Dodarian Price, right? We don't know, right? Like, maybe that you could do that. But I mean, Kedron Young got some good work, right? Like, maybe they're saying, hey, we need Dodarian Price for the stretch run here. And they do, right? Like, he's a very important player for them. So I think you can make the case that Kedron Young getting that work. And look, he looked good. 10 carries for 51 yards. He's a good looking running back, right? So I think that's the problem. For Notre Dame's receivers, I just think this is what it's going to be throughout the rest of the season. Faison, he got the most targets with with 5. He caught 4 passes. Chris Mitchell had 4 targets. Just the 2 targets for Bo Collins. He scored a touchdown. Mitchell Evans had 2 targets at 2 for 25. Jaden Greathouse, they missed him on a couple of targets, but he had the long catch and run. I think that's just what it's going to be. I think Notre Dame's going to be spreading the ball around all year. No one's going to have great stats. The best stats on the team are going to be the running game, with Jeremiyah Love and Riley Leonard. But I just think Notre Dame doesn't have the type of personnel offensively that someone is going to accumulate a bunch of stats and get a bunch of carries and get a bunch of catches, right? And that's okay. But I think for the lack of work with Love, makes sense to me. With Price, I understand it. We talked a little bit about how game flow affects him more than I think it affects other people. So that's kind of where it is. So I think it's kind of a talking point that it's relevant in some cases, but I don't know that it was relevant yesterday, especially with how the game went. Mike Lebowski says, do you expect the same type of game with Army? A little bit different. Army's got a better defense. And Jamie was saying they're a little bit more conventional with their offense, but I think Army's going to be a tougher game. And I predicted it even before yesterday. I think the Army's going to be much more difficult. I think Notre Dame was going to be keyed in to play Navy. And I think the way that they beat Navy, especially now, a way that they beat Navy, in their minds, it's just like it's going to be a little bit I don't want to say, I don't know what word I want to use for this. I don't want to, because I'm going to say they're going to discount them. And that's not, I don't think they're going to discount them. It's just not as urgent, I guess. It just doesn't have that same type of intensity and urgency when the first academy team you beat that was undefeated, you ran through them the way you did. Right. And I think it's going to be more difficult. The weather might be worse in New York in late November. So that's something you got to keep in mind. The field is going to be, it's a baseball field. It could be a complete mess at that point. So you just have to, I think the Army game is going to be more difficult, and they have the better defense. They have a real good defense. Michael Hahn, why are Notre Dame fans just totally discounting anything their team is doing? Who need haters when they have fans like this? Good they lost to NIU, but did you say A&M last night? Yeah, like I think it's time to the NIU game. I think it's far enough away, and Notre Dame's played well enough in the past, 6 games or in this preceding 6 games that, okay, like that was an aberration. That team is gone. Notre Dame has not looked like that for the rest of the season. They've played much better teams. They've played much better football across the board. That game is over. Like, is it like I can foresee a situation where Notre Dame's offense gets bogged down again, but that would be just because of circumstance, right? Like sometimes you just do, right? They are not like Riley Leonard is not the same quarterback. He simply is not. Like you can't make the case that he has not improved or that he's, not a much better player. Yesterday, he was 6 of 10 throwing the ball 10 plus yards. He was 3 of 4 throwing the ball 20 plus yards, right? For a touchdown, 3 big time throws on all of his throws All of his completions over 20 yards, 3 of 6 in the medium range. And that doesn't include the pass to Jordan Faison that was discounted for the flag on Emil Wagner, which is a total disgrace. That was a fantastic throw, right? He anticipated the opening. He threw the ball over the linebacker and in front of the secondary. I mean, it's just a big time play by him, and it's kind of big time throw that you need to be able to make to be a high level quarterback, and he did it to be a high level quarterback, high level passing game. So to me, I just think people need to get that NIU thing out of the way. If Notre Dame wins out, the game simply does not matter. They will be a playoff team. It just simply is not a factor. It doesn't matter. And for people who look at it and say like, oh, if only this, if only that. Look, if they hadn't lost to NIU, they might have dropped another game later, right? Everything kind of builds on itself, right? Everything, the way that they approached Purdue is affected by the loss to NIU. The way that they are approaching the rest of this season is affected because they lost to NIU. So sometimes you can't have one thing without the other thing. Notre Dame is where they is. They need to keep continuing to get better as a football team and move on. See if Vision Poet says, Michael, we're a damaged bunch. Absolutely. That's the other thing. Notre Dame fans are damaged, broken. So CFB Hertz says, I do think there will be an adjustment period for them going up against high-level athletes, which should get a significant leg up early on in the game. I think that he's referring to Army in this. I think he's referring to Army in this situation. And I do agree. They've had the same kind of deal as Navy. It's like they're not playing the great teams. They're not playing very good teams. Yeah, Michael Hahn says it's not like Notre Dame squeaked by because of turnovers. Yeah, like it's not. That wasn't the case, right? And Navy had their opportunities to move up and down the field, and they didn't, right? Jason Z says, as weird as it sounds, perhaps beating NIU and losing to A&M isn't a history change we'd want to make. Notre Dame getting a ton of mileage from that win, and A&M looks like they'll play in Atlanta. For sure. For sure. Like, show you can beat the good teams, right? Show you can beat the good teams. Going into the year, I predicted Notre Dame would lose to Stanford. I predicted they would lose a dumb game at some point this year, and they did. Right? I didn't think it'd be NIU, but I predicted them to lose to. I didn't think they would lose a game that had their attention, and I think I think that's going to bear out, right? And it should bear out given the way the rest of the schedule looks. Justin ND Troll Sniper says, I think people are hesitant to believe Notre Dame is so improved because they don't want to get let down again. But this team does look good for sure. There is an element to that where you don't want to start to believe again because I think we've done this in the past, right? Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame fans were very believing post Texas A&M, right? That was people were very just on a high that day and that week, and then it came crashing down, right? And I don't think to Andy Troll's point, you don't want to go through that low again, right? So you don't want to get too high because you don't want to come down through that low. People are waiting for the shoe to drop. I understand. I get it. So it's just, and look, the way we feel doesn't really matter. The team will go out and do what they're going to do, right? So, if you're a little anxious about it, then that's totally fine. But try not to emote on the Twitter machine. That's not fun. Vision Poet says it's a damn good coaching job this season. It is a good coaching job, especially from the offensive line standpoint. You have this many problems on the offensive line. Because here's the other thing, right? Like you're talking about the issues. NIU game, you lose. And in the next game against Purdue, you win big, but then you lose Strouth and Craig. And you got to deal with that, right? And so then they obviously did, right? They came through that and they managed the schedule after that, right? And that's just a good job by the staff. It's a good job by Joe Rudolph. They're not perfect, but look at the kind of rushing team Notre Dame has with a true freshman left tackle. Emil Wagner's never played. He had never started. You had to bring in new players at guard and center. And then in this game, they replaced Pendleton with Strauss, and that went well as well. So, Joe Rudolph's doing a good job. Doing a good job. Greg Wasserman says SMU had 6 turnovers yesterday, and 1 turnover is a part of the game. Yeah, if you're better, you can overcome these things. CFB Hertz says, at Jason Z, to your point, I don't think the playoff committee will ding Notre Dame as much for the NIU loss as the AP poll is. They generally care more about the quality of your wins than your losses. And here's the other part, right? Say what you want about how good you think Navy is, or this, that, and the other. When you have a win at Texas A&M on your resume on the road, and then you are definitely getting better as the season goes on, and then you boat race Navy by 24 or by 37. I don't care who it is. That's a team that the committee is going to say, we want to see them in the playoffs. We got to see them in the playoffs. They've done enough. When you have a win like Texas A&M, and then when they're whooping teams the way that they are, you say, we got to see that team. We got to see that team going forward because they look good. They look good. Michael Hahn says, why do you think they have their home games in neutral sites? I get it. It's a moneymaker for Navy. Yeah, for sure. Right. They can't fill they need more. They want more people in the stands. They want more people in the stands. Let's see. Jason Z. We need an ISD team rooting guide to maximize Notre Dame chances at hosting and winning a college football playoff game. Worried ACC Big 12 will end up with more spots than deserved. Yeah, so I mean, we can deep dive into this. I don't want to go deep too much because there's so much where things will just get figured out, right? Things will get figured out as the season goes on. And so there's so much not to worry about, right? Like, I'm not going to worry about the ACC right now, or the Big 12, or the Big even. Like, teams are going to play each other, and things got to get adjudicated, right? So, like someone pointed out, like Indiana's got to play Ohio State soon. Indiana hasn't played a tough schedule at all. They haven't played anyone who is legitimately good, and so that's got to get figured out. Let's see. People talking about Brian Kelly taking the blame in his press conference. I didn't actually see the botched field goal. I think he was talking about the operation. I didn't see the field goal. We were out last night, having a fun time in Santa Monica, watching the Dodgers again go 2-0 up. What's up with Shohei's shoulder? We're monitoring. Sergio says Young got how many carries? He got 10 carries. 10 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. A lot of work for him. Let's see. And Justin Indy Troll Sniper Army has a better run game. Yeah. And you probably won't listen. Navy, I think Notre Dame was better than Navy. I thought Notre Dame was better than Navy going into the game, right? If Navy doesn't turn it over as much, it's not 51-14. I mean, honestly, it could be 51, but maybe it would have been 51-24 or something like that, right? You still could have gotten the 50 because Notre Dame's playing. I mean, they never stopped Notre Dame. Notre Dame averaged 7.2 yards a play, and that's with the fourth quarter going the way it did, right? That the starters are probably right around 8.5, 9 yards a play. So, it's that's a give and take. You still could have gotten the 51 points, probably a little bit more than 14. Nicholas Laverio says spreading the ball around isn't a bad thing. If the defense knows multiple guys touch the ball, it makes a tough game plan. Yeah, for sure. It's a good point. It's not a negative. It's just when people talk about Nicholas, when people talk about touches for individual players and getting those touches and wanting numbers, I think that's where people get a little bit they want that, right? People like that. People like to have stars on your team, guys you can count on. Mitchell Evans, right? Jeremiyah Love. Let's get Jeremiyah Love. I think people want to see, let's have Jeremiyah Love at 20 carries for 180 something yards and 2 touchdowns or whatever it is. Makes people feel good, right? So I understand that. about halfway through the show here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hit the like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hope you're having fun. Hope you're having a good time. I'm having a good time. Hope you are as well. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hope your NFL team does well. Right. If you're into the Premier League soccer, I hope your soccer team's doing well. That sort of thing. Dan Adams, true or false? Notre Dame had the most impressive W of the week. Let's think about this. No, it's got to go to Texas A&M. Unfortunately, I mean, look, beating LSU by multiple scores is more impressive than beating Navy by multiple scores. So I would say false. But after that, and even look, even Texas A&M winning that helps Notre Dame. Austin Bradley, NIU game is why Notre Dame is not top 5 right now. Yep, 100%. 100%. They'd probably be third ahead of Penn State. They have a better win than Penn State does. Who has Penn State beaten? Illinois? Please. Come on. Jason Z says, how would the Notre Dame A&M game be handicapped today? I still think a pick 'em given Notre Dame. I mean, honestly, at the time, what was it? A&M -3, right? Do I have that right? I think that's right. A&M -3. I think it'd probably be the same thing. CFP hurts. Yeah, but now that the A&M just beat. He says, looking at advanced metrics, I think Notre Dame would be favored slightly. I think Notre Dame beating LSU like that, it would sway the tide. CFP hurts. It is true. Notre Dame is doing very well in advanced metrics. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. According to EPA per play, they have the best defense in college football on an EPA per play standpoint. And they were right up there with like they're at like they were much better than A&M on that front. And they're right at the same kind of offense. And Notre Dame's offense is only like they've only been moving in the right direction too. That's the other part. It's Notre Dame is definitely trending correctly, which is good, which helps with the committee as well, right? Greg Wasserman says Rudolph has done a pretty solid job this year. O-line may not be the best, but they are playing better. Yeah, I mean, he's the degree of difficulty as well has been off the charts, way off the charts for them. So Joe Rudolph has a lot to be proud of at this point. Envy Irish says, what does the team need to focus on in the bye week? Health, right? The health for sure. Like you're gonna see like guys like Howard Cross, Riley Mills, they'll do nothing. Xavier Watts will do nothing. A lot of guys will do very little. I'll bet you there's very little hitting this week. They'll do some game plan stuff. They'll do some game prep stuff. They'll probably work on some things that they want to, kind of expand on, maybe add some things to the offense in terms of install or just kind of work, continue to work on the things that they've been focused on. But they're not going to do too much. You just need to get healthy at this point. They really need to rest. Got a couple super chats. Nicholas Laverio, thank you very much for the super chat. This team shows how well Freeman recruits. So much depth. They do. Marcus Freeman has done a very good job of evaluating talent for sure. The Leonard Moore take is like one of the best takes of his career so far at Notre Dame. I want to say he was a 3-star, then he got bumped up to a 4-star. I don't remember specifically. He definitely wasn't highly touted. He looks incredible. He looks real good. Landing KVA, landing Bryce Young, like those are huge. Those are difference makers. Like KVA is playing real snaps. Like he's almost a starter for Notre Dame at this point. I mean, it's huge, right? Like you have Adon Schuler, right? Really good pickup. I mean, obviously Christian Gray, like that was huge. The linebackers, right? Jaden Osbury, Drake Bowen. I mean, look at that. a lot of their best young pieces are Marcus Freeman recruits. So he's done a real good job. Jay Lamont says Notre Dame can play with anyone in the country. I'm starting to believe that. Teams like Oregon and Ohio State scare me. Just they can do so much multiple. They can do so many multiple things to hurt you, and those have really good defense. That would scare me. But like, I think Notre Dame could compete with Alabama, right? Like, why couldn't they compete with Alabama? Why couldn't they compete with, Penn State, Tennessee? Like, they can definitely compete with Penn State, like no question, right? I think there's only like the one or two, three teams, right? Like, I think Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, right? I think those are the tough ones. Fred Laskowski says, what can you tell me about number 45 walk on D-line? 6'4", have seen him in the rotation. He's been around for a long time. Kobe is his name. I don't know how to say his last name, so I don't want to mess it up. Let me see if he registered a tackle yesterday. He did not. He got snaps. Let me see the snap count. Let me check it out. Get off this Riley Leonard. Defense. Let me see. Where are you, sir? Kobe Anyuke, I'll say. Yeah, he's been on the team for a long time. He's kind of a guy I bet you he helps so much on scout. He didn't register any tackles or anything yesterday, but he's been on the team for a long time. I think he's a very good scout team player. I think he's a very good kind of depth piece for practice and things of that nature. Like, good enough to give you a very good look, not good enough to be like a contributor for Notre Dame. But yeah, by all accounts, like, great teammate, great guy. Everyone really respects him. So it's good. It's good. Thank you for asking, Fred. Notre Dame superfan. Notre Dame was plus 302. Put it up instead of just reading it. Notre Dame was plus 302 on points in 13 games last year. Notre Dame's at plus 196 now, which projects to plus 318.5 in 13 games this year. Freeman delivers beatdowns in more games than any coach since Holtz. Here's the other thing. Like, you got Florida State coming up. You got Virginia. You got Army, and you got USC. Like, Notre Dame could put some points up in the next 4 games to end the season. God, it's 4 games left in the regular season. It goes so quickly. So annoying. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about when, you only put up 14 against NIU and obviously 28 against Miami, Ohio. Like, that could go a lot differently as well. So that's something. That's something. They're improving 100%. Dan Adams says, disagree on LSU. They've beat no one this year. They lost to USC, and Ole Miss is the closest thing they have to a quality win and are overrated. They've got talent, but haven't shown they're good. This is about the LSU win. Yeah, that's true. Look at I'll just say this. If Notre Dame had beaten LSU yesterday by the same score that they beat that Texas A&M did, people would have been a lot more engaged. We've had a lot more people on the post-game show. And B, it is a better win. I mean, they're more talented than Navy is, 100%. They're definitely more talented than Navy. It's whether or not they're like it could be true that they're overrated, but they're better than Navy, in my opinion. Envy Irish says, my local reporter Chris Murray is an AP voter, still has Notre Dame above A&M for what it's worth. I mean, they should be. They beat them. Jay Lamont says 29 got beat a couple times. Yeah, I mean, on some like the deep ball interference, like, just get your hand out of his bat, out of the jersey there. Don't need that. You don't need to be doing that stuff. Kind of a rough game, but look, it's an unconventional team. I don't hold it against him. How about a breakdown of the defensive team and individual stats? Defensive, sure. Well, let's go individual. I'll do that for you. Jalen Sneed, 9 tackles. Jack Kaiser, 9 tackles. 1 tackle for loss from him. Not a lot of tackles for loss, only 2 on the game. But run stops. You know what? Let's check out run stops from this game. I think that is a good way to do it. Let's see. We're over here. Because you can get a run stop in the game, and it's not a tackle for loss, but like run stops, which is basically failures for the offense, is probably as important as anything else. So let's see. 2 run stops for Jalen Sneed. He had his 9 tackles. 3 run stops for Howard Cross. 2 for Gabe Rubio. 3 for Adon Schuler. He was very active. Adon Schuler ended up with 7 tackles. 2 run stops for Junior Tuli Halamaka. 4 for Jack Kaiser yesterday. He also tied for the team lead with 9 tackles. Drake Bowen, 4 tackles. Tuli Halamaka, 7 tackles. He's done well against Navy in the past. Let's look at some team stats for the defense. Navy had 310 total yards. They ran 57 plays, which isn't a lot. 5.4 yards per play. They held them to 88 yards passing, which is, I mean, they've been explosive throughout the year. So that's not a good number for them. 7 fumbles for Navy. My goodness, that's real bad. So yeah. Good job by the defense. It was a very good performance from them. They should be proud of that. Sergio, thank you for that question. Rajon says, I didn't like Great House getting caught yesterday. It was telling. Yeah, he's not a long speed guy. He's not a long speed guy. But look, I'll take a 43-yard. I'll take a 43-yard reception for sure. Got to get those feet up. High knees, Jaden Greathouse. Excuse me, 42-yard reception. Sergio, any injury news coming out of the Navy game? Only saw Mookum down. They've been sneaky. You can't get information because Notre Dame's not going to offer it up. And since it's a bye, we're not going to hear from Freeman till next Monday, so 2 Mondays from now. So that's something to keep in mind. We're not going to hear about that stuff for later. Envy Irish says, I like Heather Dinich, but did anyone else see what she was saying about 1-loss teams, best wins, worst loss? No. I mean, that's just narrative setting, right? That's all that is. It really, Notre Dame is truly just in a keep winning, and it's all going to work out for them. Envy Irish says, I need to give Minchie the garbage time reps. I would like to see him play. I agree with that. I think Angeli's gotten enough to where it's like, let's get Minchie in there and see what he can do, right? That's just something I think they could do. Notre Dame could actually do that. He follows it up with Angeli is the backup, is a great backup, can come in and win a game. Ceiling is very low. I just think, like, Minchie's practicing, right? He's got a chance to win the job next year. Give him a chance. Put him out there. Let's see what he can do. You're throwing the ball. Rajon says Moore made a great play on the ball and interception. Never doesn't look good. He looks good every time he's out there. And that's it helps, right? One thing that can help you look good is a good media company. I'll tell you that. You want to look good, get a good media company, right? And if you don't know where to go and you're just like, oh, there's so many options out there, then we've got one for you. That's VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Hope you're enjoying the content. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. If you are, please hit the like. Please hit subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to our content. Irish Sports Daily. We're doing good stuff. I'm very proud of it. Very proud of the content we put out. If you haven't been here before, please give us a subscription. It's free. It's free to subscribe on Twitter. We love free on Twitter. On YouTube, we love free things. Let's do it. Hit the subscribe. Um, CFB Hurt says, I wouldn't be afraid of Bama, Penn State, Tennessee. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of them. It's just, that it'd be a tough game. I like Notre Dame's chances, though. I like it. I like their chances in those games. Jay Lamont says, super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Jay. Will Howard is mid. I think he means mid. Notre Dame smacks OSU. That roster isn't mid. That's the thing. They play well. They're a good team. I mean, they didn't play well yesterday. Ryan Day, man, how do you not get a penalty? He's throwing his stuff all over the place, throwing a huge tantrum. Good gracious. Oh, man. That's so good. That's so ridiculous. Oh, CFB Hurt says, excuse me, Greg. There were 3 tackles for loss. I do not recognize the roughing the passer penalty on KVA. Not good. That's not what you want. It's not what you want. Sergio says, even the announcers were flipping their lids about the KVA joke call. Sean McDonough has so little patience for that sort of thing. Those roughing the passers and the kind of the degradation. I just think it's not a player trying to take out of the game. Who's trying to take that out of the game? Like the quarterback is jumping up in the air, trying to throw a pass and KVA. You're just asking so much of a player to stop himself mid-play. It's just like, come on. At some point, it's just like you got to realize the quarterback's going to put himself in a bad situation. And, it's not like it was dirty or anything. It's just gravity. So Sean McDonough has so little patience for that stuff. Rajon says, I did like the cut block by refs yesterday. Others not so much. That was a good call. That's dangerous. It's funny. If you go back and look, I was watching this last night. On Notre Dame's second touchdown, the throw to Chris Mitchell, the play clock is at 0 for 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Notre Dame definitely ran out of time on that. Could have thrown a flag. Yeah, they missed that one. That was not good, missing the delay of game. If I was Navy, I'd be pretty upset about that, because then it would have been 3rd and goal from the 11. Right, much harder to convert. So, no way we got 2 likes. That can't be true. Raison says 2 likes on this. Come on, hit the like button, guys. Help me out. Help a guy out. Envy Irish says Drew Aller went down. I saw that too. I didn't. I didn't see what happened, but it's that's something to monitor for Penn State. Gotta. He's a good football player. He's their guy. So Envy Irish says he even rolled off in midair, so he didn't land on him. Should be a teach statement, not a penalty. I just think you're asking. But look, it's time of game as well, right? That's kind of one of those pity calls. It's a pity call. Notre Dame's up big, 38-14. To protect the quarterback in a blowout kind of thing, which is unfortunate for KVA, but that's obviously what they're doing. Mike Lebowski says Aller got rolled up on. Is it like a high ankle? Is that what's going on? Is it a high ankle? Jay Lamont. Oops. Here we go. Jay Lamont says 15 is good. My only issues with him are getting off blocks and solo tackles. I'm sure he's the fastest DB we got, though. Crazy upside. Yeah, his chase down was huge yesterday. Let's look. Well, let's look at tackling. Let's look at tackling. We can look at that. Leonard Moore. Let's see. In this game, he had 2 tackles, 0 missed tackles. On the season, Leonard Moore has 3 missed tackles. He missed 2 against Georgia Tech. They've got him down for 1 against Louisville. I'm trying to think of which one that was. They've got him down for 16 solo tackles, 3 assisted tackles, 3 missed tackles. So a little bit wanting in that area. I just like the way that he he approaches it though. Like he is a physical player. Like as compared to, let's find Christian Gray here. He's a lot more missed tackles, I think. Well, he's got 4 missed tackles, but only 12 solo. So he's basically a 24% missed tackle percentage on the chances that he gets versus the tackles that he's making. So Leonard Moore's a better tackler than Christian Gray to this point. He's physical though. He's a big guy. He's big. Randall. Hi, Randall. Thank you for being here. I don't remember your name. I appreciate your attendance and your participation. He says, I've never seen as many drop passes as the Wisconsin offense. It was atrocious. You know what, Randall? Since I don't remember you being here, let's check it out. Let's find the drop passes for Wisconsin yesterday. They played Penn State. Just really hurt my feelings. I feel like Penn State needs to go away. I don't think they're good. That's just my opinion. I mean, their best win again is USC. Needed it in overtime. Needed multiple 4th down conversions. All right, let's see. Receiving yesterday for Wisconsin. Drops. 4 yesterday. It's ridiculous. 4 drops. You hate to see that. You don't want 4 drops. Let's look on the season. Maybe they're just maybe they're just not a good they're not good at catching the ball. Let's see. Drops. Oh my. 15 drops this year. For Wisconsin. One guy has 8. 8 drops. Will Pauling. Goodness gracious. 8 drops on 63 targets. Good Lord. That is not good. You don't want 8 drops. You don't want 8 drops in your career, let alone through 8 games or whatever it is. That's not it. My goodness. CFB Hertz says Wisconsin is not good at football. It's kind of jarring after so many decades of them being good at borderline great. Here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing to consider when you look at Wisconsin, right? Everyone's. I think I've made this point recently on one show. I don't know. I'm on a lot of shows. It was either Freeman or it was wait for Luke Fickell, right? To go with Freeman or go and wait around for Luke Fickell, and you got to deal with a bunch of transfers as well, and you're losing the recruiting class, and on and on and on. What looks better now? Like, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, like, oh, Notre Dame, like they did the wrong thing. Wisconsin does not look good. There is nothing about Wisconsin that makes me excited or gets my jollies going. I just Notre Dame, they look, Marcus Freeman, for whatever faults he has, he was the better choice in hindsight. So I just you got to be able to see that, man. I just think Marcus Freeman looks a lot better than Luke Fickell right now. That's for sure. Notre Dame came out better on that one. CFB Hertz says, you want to see drops? Check out the tight end Morlock from FSU. Am I just going to check out the drops from every team? Oh man, I don't think Notre Dame's got like a big drop problem, right? Like, let's just check out Notre Dame while I'm doing this. Let's check out Notre Dame drops. What did Wisconsin have? 16, I think. Is that what we said? 16 drops for Wisconsin. I know Bo Collins leads the team. He definitely leads the team in drops. Let's see. Notre Dame has 15. Ooh, don't want that. You don't like Eli Raridan had a bad one yesterday. 4 drops for Bo Collins. 1 for Evans, 1 for Faison, 2 for Jaden Thomas, 1 for KK Smith, Eli Raridan, Micah Gilbert. Oh, the Micah Gilbert drop. You don't want that. Oh God, that's painful. Yeah, the Eli Raridan drop. That was actually almost like very frustrating because of Navy had gotten the ball to start second half and scored. And then Notre Dame sitting there at 3rd and 3 or 2nd and 3 after a 7-yard run. They throw an easy one to Raritan, drops it. You don't want that. All right, for CFB Hurts, just because you're in every show and you're always contributing and you're giving us good stuff. More lucky only has 4. Settle down. They have 25 as a team though. Yikes. Yikes. Come on, CFB Hurts. It's not that bad. 4. Although maybe let's see. 4 drops and how many though. Let's check that. Let's see. 4 drops on 19 targets. Okay, that's not good. They're throwing them. They're not throwing them very much. Well, it's just I think you think it's more because I think you think it's more because of the frequency of how often they're throwing to him versus how many he drops it. I don't recall Thomas's drops either. Even so, like 92 Chris ND says, to be fair, Fickle is in year 2, Freeman in year 3. Sure. I mean, sure. But like, look at where's the evidence for Wisconsin, right? There's just not a ton of evidence. They look good. I just don't, and he's like the experienced guy. It doesn't look good. Jason Z points out, this is a great point. Coogan 0 drops. 0 drops for Pat Coogan. They just can't get him involved. So Rajon was talking about lack of touches for key players. I think you got to look at Coogan and what they're not doing, getting him involved, getting him the ball. Yak yards. He's got 11 yak yards on the season. Hands catcher for Coogan. Run after catch. Missed tackles forced. So, Jason Z says 44 degrees projected November 9th. Yeesh. That's cold for FSU. It's not cold for Notre Dame, but that's cold for FSU. Who's Brown? I guess I gotta ignore that one. CFP Hurt says 100%. I initially wanted Fickle and was dead wrong. You just don't see the evidence, year 1 to year 2 for a coach like that with as much experience as he has. It's tough. It's tough. CFB Hurts, yeah. Wagner totally deserves to have a touchdown to his name robbed by the refs. 100%. 100%. It's tough. Offensive line just balling out this year with Coogan catching passes and Emil Wagner scoring touchdowns. Chris Wojak, Woj to God, says, real late going to slide back to the beginning. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate your participation. Greg Wasserman says that's great. That's football weather. What's the big deal? 44 degrees. Yeah, I mean, for Notre Dame, it's going to be great. It's at night too. Oof. Get a little wind. Yikes. By the way, Riley Leonard threw the ball well yesterday. Wind was a factor. That's a really good throwing performance from Riley Leonard. It was windy and everything. He did a real good job. It was nice to see. So look, it's a good win for Notre Dame. I think it's exactly the type of win you want going into the bye. I think they need they continue to build, right, especially offensively. They continue to show the things that you want to see moving forward. They're running the ball a lot better than they have. The passing game looks better. Jordan Faison becoming a factor is a huge deal for the offense. And so I think that's something that can be built off of throughout the year. They were able to get him involved. He looks real good. Bo Collins, they were able to get him deep again, get Jaden Thomas involved, get Jaden Greathouse involved, getting multiple players involved. It makes it very difficult for the defense. Riley Leonard looking a lot better. So Notre Dame trending in a good way in 2024 right now. It's got to continue, right? You can't have any slip-ups as you get into the season. Pay this off, right? Pay off the potential. Pay off what you can be. And it's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to watch this team. I'm excited to watch them grow and see where they can take it. All right, I think we can end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whenever it is we're going to go live, Jamie and I will be back on Tuesday to talk about some more thoughts from this game, what we saw, who's trending, what's trending, what types of things are trending. And have a great Sunday. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy football today. No baseball, but whatever you got going on, enjoy your family, enjoy football, enjoy this game. Watch the game back, right? Enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. So absolutely, everyone's saying thank you in the chat. Absolutely, love doing the show with you guys. Love talking about the team. So, all right, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.